She bought them a house. A beautiful 3-bedroom colonial with a backyard and a white picket fence. She paid cash. She smiled at the closing. She handed the keys to the woman her husband had been sleeping with for 9 years. And she never said a word. This is the true story of Caroline Mitchell, a woman who discovered her husband's secret family and chose a revenge so patient, so calculated, that by the time anyone understood what she'd done, it was already too late. Caroline was 41 when she found the receipt. It was tucked inside her husband David's jacket pocket, a dry cleaning stub from a town 60 miles away. She didn't think much of it at first. David traveled for work. He was a pharmaceutical sales rep, always on the road, always meeting clients. But something felt wrong. The town wasn't on any of his usual routes. So she looked closer. She started noticing patterns. Every third weekend, he'd leave Friday afternoon and return Sunday night. Work conference, he'd say. Sales training. Client dinners. She never questioned it. They had been married for 14 years. They had 2 children. They had a life that looked perfect from the outside. But Caroline was an architect. She built her career on noticing details others missed. And once she started looking, the details were everywhere. Hotel points redeemed in the same town. Credit card charges at a grocery store she'd never heard of. A second phone bill that arrived once, incorrectly addressed to their home, then never again. She didn't confront him. Instead, she hired a private investigator. 3 weeks later, she had the truth. David had another family. A woman named Jennifer. 2 children, ages 7 and 4. A rental house on Maple Street where he spent every third weekend and most Wednesday nights. He'd been living this double life for 9 years. 9 years of birthdays, holidays, school plays. 2 families. 2 lives. 1 man. The investigator handed Caroline a folder with photographs. David pushing a stroller. David at a playground. David kissing Jennifer on the porch. Caroline sat in her car and looked through every image. She didn't cry. She felt something colder than anger. Something more deliberate. She went home that night and acted normal. She made dinner. She asked David about his day. She kissed him goodnight. And she started planning. Most people would have confronted him immediately. Screamed. Filed for divorce. Taken everything. But Caroline understood something most people don't. Revenge isn't about the explosion. It's about the aftermath. It's about what remains when the dust settles. So she did nothing. For 6 months, she lived her life exactly as before. She smiled at David. She attended PTA meetings. She designed buildings and won awards. And in secret, she dismantled everything. She started with finances. She quietly moved assets into accounts he didn't know about. She documented every expense, every lie, every trip. She met with the best divorce attorney in the state and built an airtight case. But she didn't file. Not yet. Because Caroline had a different plan. She discovered that Jennifer didn't know David was married. Jennifer thought David was divorced, that his ex-wife lived out of state, that he traveled for work. Jennifer had no idea Caroline existed. And that's when Caroline had her idea. Caroline contacted Jennifer directly. She didn't reveal who she was. Instead, she posed as a real estate agent with a special opportunity. She told Jennifer about a beautiful house that had just come on the market in her town. Below market value. Perfect for a growing family. Jennifer was interested but said she couldn't afford it. Caroline said she had a private investor who wanted to help young families. Anonymous donor. Generous terms. All Jennifer had to do was view the property. Jennifer fell in love with the house immediately. 3 bedrooms, renovated kitchen, good school district. Everything she'd dreamed of for her children. Caroline, still playing the agent, arranged everything. The anonymous investor would cover the down payment. Jennifer would only need to handle a small monthly payment, less than her current rent. It seemed too good to be true. But Caroline was convincing. She had documents, contracts, references. Jennifer signed the papers. Caroline handed her the keys. And then Caroline disappeared from Jennifer's life completely. 2 weeks later, Caroline filed for divorce. She presented her attorney with everything. The documented evidence. The financial records. The timeline. David was blindsided. He tried to deny it, then admitted it, then begged. Caroline didn't waver. The divorce was brutal for David. Caroline got the house, primary custody, and 70% of their assets. David was left financially devastated. He could barely afford his own apartment. But Caroline wasn't finished. The house Caroline had bought for Jennifer wasn't a gift. It was a trap. Caroline had purchased the property under an LLC she controlled. Jennifer didn't own the house. She was a tenant. And the generous monthly payment Jennifer thought was a mortgage was actually rent, paid directly to Caroline's LLC. Jennifer had no equity. No ownership. No way out. And the contract she'd signed gave Caroline the right to terminate the lease with 30 days' notice for any reason. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, Caroline sent the notice. Jennifer was being evicted. Jennifer was confused, then panicked, then desperate. She tried to contact the real estate agent, but that number was disconnected. She tried to find the anonymous investor. Nothing. She consulted a lawyer and discovered the truth. She'd been living in a house owned by David's ex-wife. The woman David had told her didn't exist. The woman whose life he'd been living while building another with her. Jennifer confronted David. David had no money to help her. He was barely surviving himself. Jennifer had to move her children out of the house they'd called home. She had to explain to them why they were leaving. Why everything was changing. And she had to face the reality that the man she built her life around had lied about everything. Caroline never spoke to Jennifer again. She sold the house at market value and donated the profit to a women's shelter. She didn't need the money. She just needed Jennifer to understand what David had done. To feel the instability. The betrayal. The collapse. Caroline's children never learned the details. She told them their father had made choices that hurt the family, and that sometimes people aren't who we think they are. She focused on rebuilding their lives. New routines, new traditions, new stability. She thrived professionally. Her architecture firm grew. She won prestigious projects. She moved on. David's life never recovered. He lost both families. Jennifer wanted nothing to do with him after she learned the truth. His children from that relationship grew up knowing their father had destroyed their stability. Caroline's children saw him on scheduled weekends, but the relationship was strained, distant. He lived alone in a small apartment, working a job he hated, carrying the weight of what he'd done. Years later, a journalist covering stories of modern relationships found Caroline's case through divorce records. The journalist reached out, asking if Caroline would share her story. Caroline declined. She said the past was the past. But she did say one thing. She said that people think revenge is about making someone hurt the way you hurt. But real revenge, she said, is about making someone understand what they did. It's about clarity. It's about consequences. It's about the moment they realize that every choice has a price. And sometimes, she said, the price takes years to calculate. The journalist asked if she had any regrets. Caroline thought for a long moment. Then she said no. She said she'd given David the chance to live 2 lives. And when that collapsed, she gave Jennifer the chance to feel what it's like when the ground disappears beneath you. She said she didn't do it out of cruelty. She did it because some lessons can only be learned through loss. And some people, she said, need to lose everything before they understand what they had. Today, Caroline is 53. She's remarried to someone who knows the whole story. Her children are grown, successful, and close with her. She never speaks publicly about what she did. But those who know the details can't help but wonder about the morality of it. Was it justice or was it cruelty? Was it a lesson or was it punishment? Caroline would probably say it was all of those things. Because betrayal isn't simple. And neither is the response to it. What Caroline understood, what she executed with architectural precision, was that some foundations can't be rebuilt once they're broken. And sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for someone is show them exactly what they've destroyed.